Okay. Sometimes the ability of people to get pissy, is that a bad word? Is that a cuss word? I don't mean it that way, but the ability of people to get all bent out of shape over stuff that is not necessarily irrelevant, but is no longer applicable. Okay. So, oh my gosh, let's talk about this. So I'm on Twitter. Sometimes every now and then I just want to turn it off because people there are vile. Okay. They are just, and there is this anti-Semitism going on right now that is alarming. Okay. And while the World War II is a complicated, nuanced subject, what happened to the Jewish people in Germany was also due to the fact that the Christian people stood silent while the slaughter of their neighbors happened. Okay? Now, I do not kid myself about my own ability to do anything about anything, but the one thing that people did was they stood by silently, and while um, Hitler created an enemy out of their neighbor. Okay? So, why am I saying this? There is a lot of anti-Semitism going on in the Twitters. And there's people like Candace Owen that go online. Somebody called her the first number one Semite or something like that. Semite of the anti-Semite of the year or something like that. And she proudly owns it, okay? Ought you not to be ashamed of that? That's not what we're here. Okay. So there's a Twitter thread that I found, and I'm gonna bring you up to the screen and show you. Some guy, obviously he's got like 5,000 followers, and here's the problem. Okay, I'm gonna show you something. This is why it's kind of it's the symbols say things. Okay, here, let me show you the Twitter thread. Okay, you can see he's got the little Confederate flag looking thing. So everybody that sees a Confederate flag thinks, okay, white supremacists. It's these people take certain signs and stuff and they call them their own. Now, here's Mr. whatever his name is. He says he's old school side Presbyterian, Reformed Catholic, Christ is Lord, Dio Vinci. And then they put on the mantle of Jesus Christ. They call themselves Christians and defile the name of Jesus by then promoting certain things. So he puts this post out there. Shockingly, the Talmud even goes to length to justify the sacrifice of children to Moloch. The Talmud gives four scenarios in all which to the sacrifice of the child permitted under the Jewish law. If you kill him, but don't give him to the priest of Moloch, if you give him, etc. Right? So Mike responds, what? Just cite the source, because the Talmud itself is a very large, complicated source that is hard to navigate unless you actually have the correct tractate, or I think it's called tractate, whatever it is. So I said, okay. So he says, well, it's been cited. I'm like, I'm not gonna go into it. So he finally puts it on there, and he did me the favor to put it. And sure enough, he went to my favorite site, Sefaria. And if you click on it, it'll take you, here's the tractate 64A 17. So if you click on it, it takes you directly to the actual part of it. Okay. And but I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna make sure you can see it. Yeah. Okay. Let's change the thing. So let's go to Safaria. Let's go to the text, and this is in the Talmud, and it's in the Babylonian. See, there's two here, the Babylonian and the Jerusalem Talmud. You want to go to the Babylonian one, and then you're gonna find the Sanhedrin right here. Okay. And then you have the chapters. Two things to note. They were composed, Talmudic Babylon was composed in C 4050, and so circa meaning approximately, and it's in current era. So this is after this were put together after the after Jesus. The other thing is that's when they were put together, right? But we don't know unless you're like a Jewish historian and stuff. You don't know exactly when this was put together, but it makes sense. They're talking about how to apply the law of Yahweh. Okay. Two things to remember. Just like us humans today have mistaken ideas of what the law can mean to any situation. But have you ever heard that phrase? Okay. Have you ever heard the phrase the you have to look at the intent of the law, not so much the letter of the law. So in the case of the Bible, right? The law says you shall not muzzle an ox while he treads the grain. What that means is when the ox is treading the grain, you don't put a muzzle in so that he can eat while he's treading the grain. Okay, you're not gonna deny the animal the nourishment it needs in order to continue to do its work. And then what Paul does, he takes that law and looks at the letter of the law, but looks at the actual intent of the law. And the intent of the law, he says, he quotes again, "You shall not tread an ox while it treads the grain," and he's saying, shouldn't we, the apostles, that have the right to not work for a living, but spend our time spreading the gospel. Okay. So then Paul does, he takes that and applies it to a human being. And because he says, is God concerned with animals more than he's concerned with humans? So the letter of the law, the original application of the law, and the actual intent of the law. And meaning also that a human being is worth of his wages. Okay, if you work, you need to have your wages paid to you in a timely fashion. That's only biblical, and we live like that every so often in the world. If you work 7 days a week or whatever it is, and you at the end of the pay period you get your money. Okay, used to be, we have banking system and all the rules now, but the thing is nobody works for free. All right. So context is everything on all these ancient books. Now, the this chapter that this gentleman quotes, let's go back to the Sanhedrin here one more time. Let me share this with you one more time. Okay. So the Sanhedrin says what they are. They're sort of people trying to figure out how to do what Paul did. Take the law, the intent of the law, and then apply it to their day to day. Okay. So it says 64, right? Because he quoted 64:17. So we're going to go to 64 here. You can see it is right there. And star 64A. So there's a really funny one. Where is it? You okay? If you have time, you need to come and read this stuff. Some of that is funny. There's the one where the Jewish man kept going into a temple, pooping in the temple, and somebody called him out on that, and he says, "Well, I'm defiling the temple," but he is not defiling because the way to worship that particular deity was by pooping in his temple. I found it funny. I don't think my husband found it as funny as I did. I'm a simple minded, I guess, but that's not what we're getting at. Okay, so the guy says 64A 17. So we're getting to it. So you go, what they do. The other challenge I think we have most of the time is that we don't understand Aramaic and Hebrew, and so if you understand a little bit of the textual variances and such a thing regarding the Bible, you'll understand that we probably have as much on this as we do on everything else. Okay, a little bit of variance. Here it is, 716. Where are we? Um, 12. We're getting to it. So you cannot get to all of them, but okay, yeah, the number's right here. I'm sorry, I missed it. Okay. Here's the offending text. How about I give you a couple things? This is not something the Jews apply today to their day-to-day life. Why? Because we don't have Molech temples anymore. Okay. Do Jewish people live their life by this? Do they offer their children to Moloch nowadays? No. It's ridiculous to think that. Okay, let me share something with you. I'm of Mexican descent. Okay. I was born in Mexico, and my ancestors forever were thought to be really nice, peaceful people until you figured out by the evidence left behind that we were a ravenous, angry, bloodthirsty, human sacrificing, heart pulling outy things. I mean, just Google it. That's peaceful Aztecs. We were not peaceful. Does that mean that I am liable in any way, shape, or form for what my ancestors did? Absolutely not. You can't find a more peaceful person. I mean, obviously there's more, but I mean, I can be a little contagious. But I'm a peaceful human being. I don't carry grudges, and I don't stay mad at anything these days, okay? Because Jesus saved me, and so therefore why would I've been forgiven much, so I forgive much, okay? We don't, as Christians, we're not allowed to carry any sort of grudges. So all that example is just to say that I am not liable for the sins of my ancestors, okay? And neither are the Jewish people. So now this thing, the Mishnah is talking about the Sanhedrin stuff, and that part is talking about Molech. When is the last time you went to a temple of Molech to sacrifice anything? Okay? Last week. Stop. Yeah. You haven't. You don't. Sacrifice two liberals and a dollar. We're gonna get demonetized. Oh, yeah. Oh wait, we're not monetized. Who cares? Who cares? But look, come on. Okay? You're looking for demons where there's no demons. Okay? So, having said that, we will go through the text now. Okay? So, are the Jewish people today liable for the sins of their fathers? Absolutely not. God forgave them. Jesus said, "Do not, God, Father, please forgive me, for they do not know what they do." They've been forgiven. Okay? Now, am I liable for what my ancestors did? The Aztecs, the heart pulling and the bloodthirst? No, because I didn't do it. They did. And we don't do it anymore either. So now we just have ceremonies that look, celebrating their ancestry and things like that. But let me tell you, you start scratching at anybody's past, you'll find a lot of terrible things. Okay, anybody's culture, you'll find bloodthirsty heathens on everybody's culture. Everybody. Okay, so let's go back to the text real quick, and then we'll go through it. Okay, now context, right? This is not for today. This is not about today's Jews. The Jews of today don't do this. They don't sacrifice their children to Molech. Okay? Now, did they sacrifice the children to Molech? Yeah, the Bible tells you that. Before the coming of Jesus Christ, before current era, as they say, the last sin of the Jews, the most heinous sin they did was giving their children to Moloch to be sacrificed. Now, God said, "That's it. We're done with this." And he took him out of there and sent them out to the exile. When they came back, idolatry was not really that anymore. Okay. Uh, I'm reading through certain things. There was a certain level of idolatry, but the idolatry of Molech was gone. So this is talking about ancient things that happened a long, long time ago. Okay. And this is actually a good background to how they justify certain giving their children to Molech. Okay. The pre Second Temple Jews, thousands of years ago. Okay. It says here, Mishnah. First thing, one who gives of his offspring to Molech, for which one is executed by stoning, is not liable. Okay, watch. Catch the first part. For which one is executed by stoning. What would they say? Oh yeah, if you gave your offspring to Moloch, you would be executed by stoning. Okay? That was the rule. That was the law. That was it. Now, now this person is not liable unless now it's here's a caveat, right? It's saying it's not liable unless he hands over his child to the priest of Moloch and passes the child through the fire. Now, it's saying that now if you couple they if you is not you're not gonna be liable unless you physically were to take the child and actually pass the child through the fire yourself. Okay. Not only are you adding the intention to it, but now you have to actually physically say, have to follow action with intention, intention followed by action, right? So that's what he's saying. Now, if he handed over the child to the priest of Moloch but did not pass him through the fire, or if he passed, okay, now watch this, because the language is kind of hard to follow. If he handed over the child to the priest of Moloch, but did not pass him through the fire, meaning that you gave the child, but you didn't actually commit the act of burning your child, which is also terrifying, but context, okay? Or if he passed him through the fire, but did not hand him over to the priest of Moloch, he's not liable. Unless he hands the child over to the priest and passes him to the fire. So what is he saying? So if I was intent on vilifying Jewish people, I tell you that means that they were looking for a reason to justify Molech worship, right? But should you not have grace instead? Okay. Now, God dealt with this. He took care of this before Jesus Christ came. Okay. He dealt with the worship of Molech and punished them for that. Now, what is this saying? Okay, the first thing he's saying is if you hand your child over to the priest of Molech, you're liable. But it's making caveats. Why? Because you could have handed your child to the priest of Molech for the priesthood, not to be burned. Okay? What other example do we have that? Okay? Let's go to the book of Samuel. When Hannah gives Samuel to Eli for the temple service, she handed over her son for temple service. Would she had not that they did this, but had Eli burned Samuel at the stake, would that have made Hannah liable for this? No, because she did not intend for her child to be burned at the service of Yahweh, or so if I am a devout temple worship of Molech and I give my child to the service of the priest, never did I intend you to burn my child. Okay? We don't do that sort of thing. So it's jarring to your sensibilities as a 21st century person. Okay? So what is he saying? If you give your child to the service of Molech, but you didn't actually participate in the burning of your child, then you are not liable because your intent probably they're trying to look at the intent of the person. And your intent was probably not burning your child. Okay? So let me yes. Okay, so then it says here, if he handed over the child to the priest of Molech but did not pass him to the fire, uh or here's the other caveat, if he passed him through the fire but did not hand them over to the priest of Molech, he's not liable. What does that mean? So if you didn't give your child and they took your child and they passed your child through the fire, uh it says if he passed him through the fire but did not hand him over to the priest of Malch, he's not liable. If your child went through the fire but you did not give your child for that, you're not liable for it. Because the thought is behind it is, if they took your child, so for instance, mom, your husband takes your child and gives him to Molech, and your husband passes it to the fire, you're not liable for that. So the letter of the law, the intent of the law. And also, there's a lot of things here. And again, I'll say it again and again. Context is everything. When is the last time you heard Jewish people sacrificing to Molech? Okay? When is the last time you heard Aztec people, Mayan people sacrificing to I forget the deities now, Quetzalcoatl or whatever the names are. I mean, it's been a long time since I've looked into the subject. Okay? So, what's the danger here, friends? The danger is that we have a subset of people. I don't think it's everybody. Again, like for me, I don't adjudicate hate to every single human being. But what I think we're missing now is there's a lot of inflammatory stuff going on Twitter and stuff like that, and even on YouTube regarding um regarding Jewish people, regarding women, regarding, all the minorities and things like that. It is the consequences of true freedom of speech, okay? Which is what X is right now. It's a platform for true freedom of speech. You can say vile, disgusting things, and and uh and you won't be censored, you won't be kicked out of the platform and stuff like that. Which actually is kind of good, I think. Why? Because first of all, it points us out to the people that are vile like this. Two, you can speak up against it. Okay? Now, you can sit by, idly by, and let people hate on the Jews and all of that. And this is how it starts. Okay? I want you to think, I did a video on Wicked, right? And the Wizard of Oz says this one thing. It says, give them the way that you unite people, that you give them a reason to something to hate or someone to hate. We are being given the Jews again to hate. And if you're a Christian, if call yourself a Christian in any way, shape, or form, hating anybody, regardless of color, religion, background, anything like that, it is explicitly forbidden. It is explicitly forbidden by God. Okay? Explicitly. We're not allowed. What did he say? What did Jesus say? Love your enemies. We're to love every single human being in the world, whether you agree with them or not. Now, there's all this other caveats and stuff like that. But before you listen to somebody that's read a book, that thinks they know what they're talking about and stuff, and all of that, you do your research. You put on your thinking cap. You think about these objects all the way through, okay? And again, like I said, nobody's sacrificing to Molech anymore. And these are ancient texts addressing a problem of intent way before Jesus came. Okay? Right? So they were writing all these things. What this does is actually gives you a window onto what was happening behind behind closed curtains, so to speak, before Jesus came. Okay? And look, friends, we can't allow things like this to happen to any sort of any religion. Okay? Or any, I don't know why the hatred of the Jewish people is going on right now, but let's not let this happen. I mean, I hate, politically speaking, Donald Trump was the thing that they gave us to supposedly unite against behind, and it didn't work. Okay, so do your own thinking, do your own research, do your own critical analysis of things. You cannot be lazy about it anymore. There's no excuses. Why? Because all the information is out there. You just have to look it up, or you have to really sit and think, okay, Molech, when is the last time anybody sacrificed to Molech? All right. That's all I got for you guys today. Have a blessed day. Doodaloo. Bye bye.